Good evening and welcome to the February 14th meeting of the Falmouth Conservation Commission. This meeting is being held virtually via Zoom video conference and is also being broadcast by FCTV on cable channel 9. As this meeting is being recorded by Zoom and broadcast by FCTV, please be cognizant of what you say, how you say it, and what can be seen and heard in your background. We have a full complement of commissioners tonight. Thank you all for your dedication. I'd like to remind you that for commenting, I'll call on each and every one of you in turn so we're not tripping over each other. Also, all votes are done by roll call. So when I call your name, state your name and your vote for the record, even if you've made the motion or the second. To our public participants, at any time during this meeting, you may enter any comments or questions via the chat function. At the appropriate time, they will be read into the record. If you'd like to be heard on a specific hearing, let us know via the chat function. Then at the appropriate time, I will call for public comment. When you are selected, you will be moved into the hearing as a participant. As such, you must have your video enabled, be succinct and respectful of others. Public comments will be limited to 3 minutes each. Regarding RDAs, under a request for determination of applicability, the applicant is asking the Commission to determine if the provisions of the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and/or the Falmouth Wetlands Bylaw apply to their proposed project. A negative determination is that the provisions of the Act and/or the bylaw do not apply. Therefore, the project may proceed as proposed. However, a positive determination means that the provisions of the Act and/or the bylaw do in fact apply and/or may require some conditions. Therefore, the project would require a notice of intent application.
Wait till he's
So
finished.
as an applicant, you kind of want to hear a negative determination. For the benefit of anyone waiting for a particular hearing tonight, so that you're not waiting unnecessarily, the following hearings are expected to be continued. Cedar Lake and 153 Sea Pit Road. And tonight we'll be going into executive session at one point, so it's going to get a little confusing, so bear with us. First up, request for continuance under notice of intent. Joyce Bach, Friends of Cedar Lake, Falmouth, Mass, for permission to conduct invasive species management of Cedar Lake. Jen?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Yes, Mr. Chairman, this, the applicant is requesting a continuance until February 28th.
So moved, Harlow Hawks.
Second, Gladfelter.
All right, we have a motion and a second to continue this until February 28th. Any questions or comments? All right, we're voting on the continuance. Betsy?
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney?
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin?
O'Brien, aye.
Maury?
Harlow Hawks, aye.
Steve?
Aye.
It is unanimous. We have continued this until February 28th. Next up, Mary and Susan Johnston, 153 Sea Pit Road, East Falmouth, Mass, for permission to reconstruct a walkway and install coir fiber rolls. Jen?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the applicant's requesting a continuance until February 28th.
Bird, so moved. Harlow Hawks, second.
Questions or comments? All right, this is like what, the third continuance.
When he says.
Are we going to get slammed on the 28th?
No, we're hoping not. I think we only have 3 or 4 notices on the 28th at this point.
Okay. We're voting on the continuance. Betsy?
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney?
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin?
O'Brien, aye.
Maury?
Harlow Hawks, aye.
Steve?
Patton, aye.
It is unanimous. We have continued this until
Kevin.
February 28th.
I think that would be clear.
All right.
Just said Kevin, right? Okay.
So this meeting is going to go into executive session, and the public meeting will resume thereafter. And we're entering executive session to discuss strategy with respect to imminent litigation. So I would entertain a motion and a second to go into executive session.
Mr. Chair, given the subject of the executive session, I would like to recuse myself.
Okay. Consider yourself recused. We'll see you in hopefully not that long.
I'll make a motion to enter into executive session, and once we finish executive session, to come back into this hearing.
Carla Hawk, second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to enter executive session. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Maury,
Carla Hawk's aye.
Steve.
Aye.
All right, it is unanimous with one recusal. We are going into executive session. See you all shortly. All right, welcome back. We are back in our public meeting. We're going to move onward. Next up is the vote minute.
Go
Go,
on.
Jen?
Yep, I'm fine.
All right. Next up is the vote minutes. First one is January 17, 2024. Anyone?
Make a motion to approve the minutes of January 17, Patton.
Gladfelter, second.
All right, questions or comments? All right, we're voting to accept the minutes of January 17. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Maury,
Carla Hawk's aye.
Steve.
Patton, aye.
It is unanimous. We have accepted the minutes of January 17. Next up are minutes of January 24, 2024.
Right.
Anyone?
Chairman, I make a motion to approve the minutes of January 24. As
Bird,
written.
second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to accept the minutes of January 24. Questions or comments? All right, Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Maury,
Carla Hawk's aye.
Steve.
Patton, aye.
It is unanimous. We have accepted the minutes of January 24. Next up is the minutes of January 24, 2024, the executive session. Anyone?
Make a motion to approve the minutes of January 24 executive session, Patton.
Bird,
Gladfelter,
second.
second.
Jen?
That's okay. Go on.
All right, I had one correction, and I'm sorry, I don't have it in front of me, but the beginning it says remediation. It should be just mediation,
Okay.
and I think that's significant verbiage, so I just figured I'd bring it out, but I think that's a minor correction in the whole scheme of things. All right, questions or comments? All right, we're voting to accept the minutes of executive session from 124. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Maury,
Carla Hawk's aye.
Steve.
Patton, aye.
It is unanimous. We have accepted the minutes of January 24 executive session. Last one, vote minutes, January 31, 2024. Anyone?
I make a motion to approve the minutes of January 31, Patton.
Bird,
Gladfelter,
second.
second.
All right, we have a motion in multiple seconds to accept the minutes of January 31. Questions or comments?
No.
All right, Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Maury,
Carla Hawk's aye.
Steve.
Patton, aye.
It is unanimous. We have accepted the minutes of January 31st. Thank you, Kristen. All right. Next up, request for determination of applicability. First up, Town of Falmouth, Department of Public Works, Little Island Road, Point Road, and Edgewater Drive West Falmouth, Mass. For permission to install 4,800 linear feet of water main. Ms. Bergeron.
Staff recommends a -3 under the state and a -2 under the bylaw. Resource area boundaries are not confirmed.
Bird, so move.
Pat, second.
All right, questions or comments? How much of this work has already started?
Maybe 10 days of it?
Yeah, it's only maybe a third of Point Road, and I think they've just gotten started on Little Island.
All right. Maury,
I just, I know you're gonna go down and check out Little Island, because the wetlands there, by where the Osprey pool, they're already over the limit of work, so if we could just reel them in a little bit, would be nice.
We were informed of that today. I believe Jen had a conversation with DPW.
Yep, thank you.
I did. I contacted Peter. He sent Matt, the new water department superintendent, down, and I plan to have a conversation with them tomorrow. And
Yep.
I'm gonna have Alyssa go down and check it out tomorrow.
Yep, that'll keep the neighbors, their
Yeah.
concerns at bay. Thank you.
all right, anything else? All right, we have a motion and a second to accept staff's recommendation. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye, Kevin,
O'Brien, I.
Maury,
Carlo Hawks, aye.
Steve?
Pat and I.
It is unanimous. We have accepted staff's recommendation. Next up, Chappaquiddick Associates between 20 and 26 Associates Road, Falmouth, Mass. For permission to fill a sinkhole with flowable fill. I'm sorry, Ms. Bergeron.
Staff recommends a -3 under the state and a -2 under the bylaw. Resource area boundaries are not confirmed.
Bird, so move.
And second.
All right,
Can
we have a
I
motion.
ask a question
Sure.
before we vote? Why is
Go
there a
ahead.
sinkhole?
So this is Big Pier on Chappaquiddick Island. So if you're going down onto the big concrete pier, there's that dune to the left.
Yep,
Yep. The water is sucking from that last storm event. The water created a sinkhole underneath the dune next to
Okay.
the pier because the water's coming
I understand. Okay,
over and sucking it out from underneath. So
okay,
there's a huge sinkhole underneath this little duney area.
okay.
Rooney.
Duney.
Judy.
All right, we have a motion and a second to accept staff's recommendation. Any other questions or comments? All right, we're voting. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye, Kevin,
O'Brien, I.
Maury,
Carlo Hawks, aye.
Steve.
Pat and I.
It is unanimous. We have accepted staff's recommendation. Next up, Classic Landscaping and Masonry, 103 Penzance Point, Falmouth, Mass. For permission to remove and replace a swimming pool and patio. Ms. Bergeron.
Staff recommends a -2 under the state and bylaw. Resource area boundaries are not confirmed, and this project is solely located in an AE flood zone.
Bird, so move.
Gladfelter, second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to accept staff's recommendation. Questions or comments? All right, Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye, Kevin,
O'Brien, I.
Maury,
Carlo Hawks, aye.
Steve.
Pat and I.
It is unanimous. We have accepted staff's recommendation. Next up, Sandra and Aaron Voice, 5 Canapis,
Biscuit.
yeah. Say that 3 times fast. Canapit Drive, Falmouth, Mass. For permission to repair and replace damaged hardware on the existing bulkhead and replace an area of crushed stone with native plantings. Ms. Bergeron.
The applicant's representative has requested a continuance until February 21st.
So moved.
Second.
That'll give me time to practice the name. All right, we have a motion and a second to continue this till, did you say February 21st?
Yes.
Okay. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye, Kevin,
O'Brien, I.
Maury,
Carlo Hawks, aye.
Steve.
Pat and I.
It is unanimous. We have continued this until February 21st. Next up, Nancy and Robert Kravitz, 97 Lakeshore Drive, Falmouth, Mass. For permission to remove unpermitted hardscape and to install native shrubs in accordance with the order of conditions for Mass DEP number 25-1964. Ms. Bergeron.
Staff recommends a -3 under the state and a -2 under the bylaw. Resource area boundaries are not confirmed.
Bird, so move.
Patton second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to accept staff's recommendation. Questions or comments? All right, we're voting. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, I.
Maury,
Carlo Hawks Eye.
Steve.
Patton, aye.
It is unanimous. We have accepted staff's recommendation. Next up, Ann E. Constantino, 91C, Falmouth Heights Road, Falmouth, Mass. For permission to reconstruct 2 retaining walls. Ms. Bergeron.
Staff recommends a -3 under the state and a -2 under the bylaw. Resource area boundaries are not confirmed.
Bird, so move.
Patton second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to accept staff's recommendation. Questions or comments? All right, we're voting. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, I.
Maury,
Carlo Hawks Eye.
Steve.
Patton, aye.
It is unanimous. We have accepted staff's recommendation. Next up, Marco Morais, 142 Pinecrest Beach Drive, Falmouth, Mass. For permission to construct a 2nd-story addition. Ms. Bergeron.
The applicant has requested a continuance until February 21st.
Bird, so move.
Gladfelter, second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to accept staff's recommendation. I'm sorry, to continue this until February 21st, and I would caution you, not so many continuances to the 21st. We're already buried,
Hopefully this is just quick and easy.
hopefully. All right, questions or comments on this? All right, we're voting. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, I.
Maury,
Carlo Hawks Eye.
Steve.
Patton, aye.
It is unanimous. We have continued this until February 21st. Next up, Ann W. Coffin and Trudy L. Campbell, trustees, 19 Sunfish Lane, Falmouth, Mass. For permission to drill a new well and install restoration plantings. Ms. Bergeron.
Staff recommends a -3 under the state and a -2 under the bylaw. Resource area boundaries are not confirmed.
Bird, so move.
Patton second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to accept staff's recommendation. Questions or comments? All right, we're voting. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, I.
Maury,
Carlo Hawks Eye.
Steve.
Patton, aye.
It is unanimous. We have accepted staff's recommendation. Next up is continued request for determination of applicability. Mark O'Sullivan, 18 Edgewater Drive East, East Falmouth, Mass. For permission to replace 2 retaining walls, remove a set of stairs, and install mitigation and restoration plantings. Ms. Bergeron.
Staff recommends a -3 under the state and a -2 under the bylaw. Resource area boundaries are not confirmed.
Bird, so move.
Patton second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to accept staff's recommendation. Questions or comments? All right, we're voting. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, I.
Maury,
Carlo Hawks Eye.
Steve.
Patton, aye.
It is unanimous. We have accepted staff's recommendation. Next up, Joseph Zampatella, 87 Nauset Ave East, Falmouth, Mass. For permission to replace existing timber ties and vista prune according to FWR 10.1810B. Ms. Bergeron.
The applicant has requested a continuance until February 28th.
So moved.
And second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to continue this until February 28th. Questions or comments? We're voting. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, I.
Maury,
Frollo Hawk's eye.
Steve,
And excuse me.
it is unanimous. We have accepted staff's recommendation. I'm sorry. Continue this until February 28th. Next up, request for hearing under notice of intent. All hearings of the Falmouth Conservation Commission are held simultaneously under the authorities of the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and the Falmouth Wetlands Bylaw. Although a single decision of the commission is issued, it represents a separate decision under each authority. As a reminder, for public commenting, it's limited to 3 minutes, so I encourage you to stay within the purview of this board, which are the rules and regulations of the Wetlands Protection Act and the Falmouth Wetlands Bylaw, and how they pertain to a particular application. The chair reserves the right to stop any commenting that is disparaging or inconsequential to the hearing. First up, Timothy Goodman, 66 Grove Street, Falmouth, Mass, for after-the-fact permission to expand the existing deck and for permission to install mitigation plantings and conduct tree work. Jen?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I've promoted Tim Santos of Merrill Engineering up to present his project.
Good
Mr.
evening.
Santos, you're up, sir.
Good evening. With your permission, I will share my screen.
Yes, sir.
Can everybody see that?
Yes.
Okay, for the record, Tim Santos from Merrill Engineers representing the applicant. Property is located at 66 Grove Street. Resource area is on or within 100 feet of the property. There is salt marsh to the east. We have a coastal beach to the east and west of the site. Silver Beach Harbor, land of the ocean, land containing shellfish, and the entire property is in land subject to coastal storm flowage. Currently developed with an existing single-family home and a detached garage, attached porches, decks, pavers, patios, and landscaped areas. This project was originally filed as an administrative review, I believe last summer, for some pruning work on the privet to the northwest of the site, as well as tree removal in front of the garage, and two, I believe the Russian olives to the east of the house, and then some pruning to these trees up to the northeast with some restoration planting shown in this area. Staff did approve that, and at the time noted that this deck to the rear of the house had been constructed at some point, I believe in the summer of 2020, without a permit, and asked that they file a notice of intent to approve that deck and install the proper mitigation plantings that would have been required. So that's why we're here tonight. We're looking for your approval to keep this deck as shown and install 490 square feet of mitigation plantings. The increase of the deck area within the FWRA zone is 162 square feet. We'll need 3-to-1 for that, so we need 486 square feet. So we are proposing 490 square feet to this southeast and southwest portion of the lot that's currently lawn. I did review the staff report with staff. We have made some minor notes and revisions to the plan. We revised the planting notes so that it was 3-gallon size, 3 feet on center. We've added a dry well to contain the roof runoff from the downspout to the northeast corner of the house. Staff requested the square footage of the deck increase within the velocity zone. It's 137 square feet. And I believe there was also a seeded tree off to the south eastern side that was shown in a 2014 photo from a previous notice. That tree was blown away during a storm, and the applicant has no problem replacing it. I talked with staff this morning about this location. Also in the staff report, it was noted that the flagstone steppers were installed at some point after 2014. The owner is unaware that they needed permission to install flagstone steppers. I've gone over the property with them and explained to them that's entirely in jurisdiction of conservation, so they need permission for whatever they do out there. They're willing to remove them and just reloam and seed those areas. Staff also noted that there was a drip strip adjacent to the garage. At first, it looked like in the photos that it wasn't there, but if you look closer, you can see that there's some brick edging and gravel. There was a drip strip there. They've just kind of changed it out. So instead of the brick edging, it's the metal edging that's there now with some shelves to contain the roof runoff from the garage on that side. I believe I've addressed all staff's concerns in their report. We did have a conversation this morning. So we're hoping that you can close this hearing tonight and get under advisement. If the board has any questions or concerns, I'd be more than happy to address them.
Thanks, Tim. Jim?
I have no comments, Mr. Chairman.
All right, Ms. Bergeron.
No comments. Thank you.
All right. Commissioner comments, Betsy.
I'll make it 3 in a row. I have no comments also.
All right. Courtney.
4 in a row, no comments.
All right, I'm gonna be the spoiler. I have a couple of questions. How much closer did this deck move to the resource areas?
I can bring it back up, but it's no closer than what it previously was.
Okay, do you have proof of what it previously was?
All right, hold on 1 second. I'm gonna rephrase that, so hold on a second. So the closest point to the resource area was this corner of the house right here, Mr. Chairman. The previous deck and steps was, let me see if I can annotate, was in this area right here. And then it was obviously torn down and reconstructed as shown on the site. So it is no closer to the resource area than what was previously there as far as the existing structure.
And you said this was built or rebuilt in 2020?
I believe it was the summer of 2020. That is correct.
All right, I don't know that it's relevant, but I'd bet you $1 it's a lot older than that. That decking is in, looks a lot older than a few years old. Jen, would we have permitted this?
With mitigation, and if it didn't move closer, yes, we would have.
Yep. Okay. And lastly, the tree work. That's kind of vague. What do you have in mind, Tim?
So the tree work is what was previously approved under the administrative review. So it's noted on the plan. It's the pruning of this privet here, the removal of this tree in front of the garage, the pruning of this tree to the northeast, and then removal of these 2 Russian olives. And there's some mitigation plantings, or I should call them restoration plantings in this area, 3 bayberry and 2 beach plum. That was all previously approved by staff under the AR. We just added it to this plan to kind of, so that it could be one plan.
Okay. Thank you. And I apologize. I didn't.
And I think I do have a note under hold on a second, I'm sorry. Right here, note 6, it talks about tree removal, pruning, blah, 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 blah. Sorry. Under the admin, it was September 13th, 23, just so that it was noted on the plan.
Got it. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Jamie, if
take
you
that
want to see the near map
back one.
photos, the deck was not there in March 27th of 2019, and it appeared in the near map photos in April of 2020.
All right. So Tim, I owe you $1. That decking looks, I mean,
I'll be honest with you, I thought it was pretty old too. Maybe they told me the spring of 2020. I thought they said the summer of 2020. So
no, I would have bet it was 15 or 20 years old.
Yeah.
I mean,
No,
unless they repurposed from another job or something. But that definitely looks older than 4 or 5 years old.
I thought the same thing.
All right, thank you for clarifying that. All right, Kevin.
No comments, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
All right, Maury. Maury, you there?
You're mute, Maury.
Oh, no comments, thank you.
All right, Steve.
I thought I heard a cedar tree. Do we have a cedar tree?
It is shown on the plan.
I thought so. Thank you.
All right. Jen, is there anything in the public chat function, please?
Nothing in the public chat, Mr. Chairman.
I'll make a
All right.
motion to close this hearing and take it under advisement.
Third, second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to close the hearing. Any other questions or comments?
No.
Seeing none, we're going to vote to close the hearing. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Third, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Maury,
Carlo Hawks, aye.
Steve.
Benton, aye.
It is unanimous. We have closed this hearing. Thanks, Tim.
I have the next one, so
Well,
you'd be graced for my presence for 2 in a row.
oh, jeez. All right, next up, the 68 Loop Road Nominee Trust, 68 Loop Road, Falmouth, Mass, for permission to raise, RAZE, an existing single-family dwelling and construct a new single-family dwelling with a deck, pump, dry, fill, and either abandon or remove the existing cesspool, install a Title V sewage disposal system, conduct invasive species removal, and install mitigation plantings. Jen.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Tim Santos from Merrill Engineering is here to present his project.
Welcome back, Mr. Santos. You're up, sir.
Good evening. With your permission, I will share my screen.
Yes, sir.
I assume everybody can see that again.
Yes.
So again, for the record, Tim Santos from Merrill Engineers representing the applicant. The property is located at 68 Loop Road. The resource areas on or within 100 feet of the property are, there is a salt marsh to the north of the property, a bordering vegetated wetland fringe is adjacent to that salt marsh. The majority of the property is located in land subject to coastal storm flowage. We have an AEVE flood zone to the rear, and then we have an AEX zone that runs through the front of the house. There is a coastal bank that's located from the top of the bank is the AEX zone down to the bordering vegetated wetland. That entire rear of the property is technically a coastal bank due to the slope. And then the entire property is located within the riverfront area of the marsh to the rear of the property. So the entire property is located in the riverfront. Property is currently developed with an existing single-family home, deck, gravel driveway, and some landscape features. The applicant is here tonight looking to tear down this structure and construct a new house and deck. Install a new Title V compliant septic system with incorporating a nitro denitrification system. That system has gone before the Board of Health last week, and the Board of Health approved it. We're also looking to remove some of the trees around the house, adjacent to the house, and relocate them to the rear. And we are proposing mitigation plantings. Hold on, let me find my little chart up here. Mitigation plantings. We're proposing 620 square feet. We are increasing the impervious developed area by 158 square feet. The entire property is more or less within the FWRA zone to the salt marsh and coastal bank. So we will need a 3-to-1. So we're required to plant 474 square feet, and we are proposing 620 in the rear in this green aqua colored area. I have reviewed the staff report with staff this morning. And I have a few comments. Yes, an alternative analysis was not provided. We did discuss that. Basically, the analysis would have said, you know, we can either do nothing or we're going to tear the house down and rebuild it within the same footprint. So I'm just kind of stating that for the record. We did provide them with the architectural plans for the deck to help them better understand the deck and the second floor addition above it. We have no problem with staff's comments about the shrub and the trees and conditioning a meeting prior to any of the mitigation or trees going in. We have no problem updating the limit of work detail to incorporate a silt fence. It definitely makes sense on this site, and you can either condition that or I can revise the plan. It's up to the board. There's also some rocks within that proposed planting mitigation area. We have no problem removing them. I can either add a note or it can be conditioned as well. We talked about that. And I think the last comment was about the drainage pipe. There is a drainage pipe that runs along the western property line that comes from the road drainage right here. So that's town drainage. And I believe it shows up on the GIS maps. We did talk about that. So if the board or anyone has any questions, I'd be more than happy to address them.
Thanks, Tim. Jen,
No questions or comments, Mr. Chairman.
wow. Ms. Bergeron,
Just one comment on the staff report that we also talked about was the removal of bamboo. Prior to that taking place, we'll just need more of an idea on the methodology and who's doing the work.
Yeah, I forgot about that. I apologize.
No
We have
worries.
no problem with that being a condition that the the contractor and the methodology needs to be approved before any work being done.
Thank you.
all right. Commissioner comments, Courtney.
Question about the bamboo. Is it all within on his property, the owner's property, or is it a straddle the property line? That seemed like it was straddling the property line.
It's straddled. I can bring it back up, Mr. Bird. So it's in this area right here.
Yep.
Okay, so what we talked about with staff today was this would be removed and they would propose some type of root barrier along the lot line so it doesn't creep back over, or potentially talk with their neighbors, and then the neighbors could get permission to remove it as well. But the plan is right now to remove what's on their property.
Okay. And so you're not gonna keep that tree feature with the deck?
No, I'm just gonna say no. I'll leave it at that.
All right, no other questions.
All right. Kevin,
No questions, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
all right. Maury,
No questions.
Steve,
Tim, when you were making your presentation, you discussed you used the term river when you were describing.
Yeah.
So I can hold on. I'll bring it back up. Let me just find it. So technically, Little Sippawisset Marsh, according to our environmental expert from ECR, the mean high water mark is the river mark. This is technically on the state river map. So therefore, the riverfront comes off of mean high water, and if you follow this purple line here, this is the 100-foot offset, and the 200-foot offset is way off of the property. So technically it's in the riverfront area.
Yeah, okay. I didn't know why you used the term riverfront. Thank you for the explanation. What is the elevation of this property? I'm sorry, I can't figure it out.
Sure.
I did
not a
look.
problem. Not a problem. So up at the street, we're around elevation 16 in this area, and that wraps into the house. Okay, at this catch basin, we're 14.5, and then it slopes down all the way to the back. This is around elevation 5 right here along the back of the mitigation plantings.
Okay. Foundation looks good. So I have no other questions.
thank you. Betsy,
Tim, how many trees are you removing and how many caliper inches?
We are removing 10 trees and we are proposing 6 back. As far as caliper inches, I do not have that exact number off the top of my head. Some of the trees in the front, there's 4 in the front would be where the septic would be. And then one of them's actually within that deck. So I'm not quite sure. I understand habitat value on your end. But I believe the overall benefit would be to, remove this house and be able to construct a new house that's within building code and FEMA code as well. And you'd also be obtaining some mitigation plantings out back with the shrub life to help protect the salt marsh and the bordering vegetated wetland.
Okay, I'll buy all that, but the regulation reads tree for tree or caliper inch per caliper inch. And I came up with 112 caliper inches. So unless you're going to be putting some big trees in there, I think you better find a place for 4 more trees. And it's more than just habitat value. You know that, Tim.
No. I understand where you're coming from. I'm just kind of trying to look at the overall value of the project. I mean, and I think in the end, there's definitely a benefit for them to do this between the septic and the house code and increasing the buffer to the salt marsh. I think there might be some other areas to plant those additional 4 trees. I'd have to meet with staff on site to discuss where we might be able to put them. I'm not sure, maybe if we could get 2 trees and then some shrubs planting the understory that's currently cleared, and kind of, I'm not saying a trade-off, but there's benefit to that as well.
Yeah.
It's just hard to put the trees back in the front yard, because otherwise I would have, because that's where the new septic's going, and we can't really put trees back where that septic is, or it'll destroy it.
Yeah, I'll leave it that you'll work with the staff. I'm sure Alyssa would love to go out there and look around, but I'd like to see at least 10 trees replaced.
10? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
He only says 6, and he's removing 10 at a total of 112 or more, maybe more. I can't, it's hard to read the size of your trees on your plan.
All right, you good, Bets?
Yeah, I'm just letting Tim know what's going to come along.
I understand where you're coming from, and I know we can make it work. So
I know you can too. That's
right,
all.
Courtney's
Jamie, thanks.
Courtney's hand is gonna fly off.
No, I was just questioning a couple of those trees on the side are hollies. Are we counting those?
No,
Okay. I mean, I think you may have listed a couple of hollies because they're good sized hollies. They've got about a 10-inch or more caliper.
well, I don't know.
So I just didn't know which trees you were.
He's got
So-
10 trees marked.
yeah, I think Courtney might be right. I think maybe 2 of those to the left of the house. I'd have to defer to the owner, because I know when I had a conversation with them, and I know they're on, her dad actually planted those trees when they built the house way back in the day. I don't know if we can kind of get some language in there, native trees or hollies excluded. I'm not quite sure how you might want to do it.
Well, you put on the plan what the trees were.
Yeah, we didn't. I don't think I put like oak, or I think I just put the diameters on there. So
All right, Betsy, you good?
Yeah.
All right, Jen, is there anything in the public chat function, please?
No, Mr. Chairman, there's nothing in the public chat.
I'll make a motion to close the hearing and take it under advisement.
Third, second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to close the hearing. Any other questions or comments? All right, we're voting to close the hearing. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Third,
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Maury,
Hello, Hawks Eye.
Steve? It is unanimous. We have closed this hearing. Thank you, Tim.
Thank you for your time. Everybody have a great weekend, and I wish everybody a happy Valentine's Day. So have a
Night,
great day.
Tim.
Oh, well, thanks,
Thank you.
Tim.
All right, good
Thank
night.
you.
Good night.
All right, next up. Andrew and Laura Dearman, 41 Madeline Road, East Falmouth, Mass, for permission to reconstruct an existing licensed dock. Jen,
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'm promoting Mike Borselli up to present his project. Hi, Mike.
Hello.
Mr. Borselli, you're up, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. For the record, my name is Michael Borselli from Falmouth Engineering, and I represent the applicant, Andrew Dearman. Mr. Dearman owns a property at 41 Madeline Road. It's a fully developed lot containing just over 12,000 square feet. It's got a single-family dwelling on it. It has frontage on the upper reaches of Eel Pond. And the wetland resources include land under the ocean, land containing shellfish. There's a salt marsh across the pond from the property that we show the edge of here. Due to the slope in the existing riprap, there's a coastal bank that we've outlined, and we show the respective no disturbance zone A and outer buffer zone B.
Mike, could we see the plan, please?
I didn't ask permission to share like I usually do. Got ahead of myself. I apologize. I'm pointing away here and no one can see. So again, land out of the ocean, land containing shellfish. There is a band of salt marsh across the pond. There is a low profile coastal bank in the top of it's outlined here with the 50-foot no disturbance zone A and the 50-foot outer buffer zone B from the top of the coastal bank. On the property currently on the waterfront is an existing pier with a float. It has Chapter 91 license that we provided to staff. It is substandard in all aspects, in my opinion. It's just been there for a very long time. And then the owner wants to upgrade it and rebuild it so that it comes into compliance with today's standards. On the plan, there is a profile view of the proposed dock with the existing superimposed. So at the top of this coastal bank, there's a small ramp and a small fixed dock, and then there's a float tied to that. None of it meets any standards. The float is close to the bottom. There's no access for the public along the shoreline. So to replace that, we're proposing an entirely fixed structure that would come from the top of the bank with stairs. It would provide the requisite 5 foot of clearance from mean high water for public access. And then it would transition back down with stairs to a lower level to an entirely fixed dock pier that's pile supported. The size of that would be 5 by 20, so it meets the no greater than 100 square foot area for the T. It's actually a twin to the dock next door that was reviewed and approved for a reconstruction a few years ago by you folks. This is the second to last dock in the very upper reaches of Eel Pond. This right next door, there's another dock with float. So we also did a shellfish survey. We didn't, but Megalodon, owner, PM Newberg, did the shellfish survey and associated report that was submitted as well, and there was, I don't think she found a single clam up here. We did review the staff report and went over the staff report with Alyssa today. And I'll just touch base with you on the comments within that. Number one, she was questioning whether it was licensed, and we provided the licenses. And then there was a question as to whether or not this fell within the riverfront area. We hadn't even considered the riverfront area, but in reality, and I'm now sharing with you what's known as the Mouths of Coastal Rivers maps, and there's one of these for each river in the Commonwealth, I guess, but for Falmouth. And if you look at this, our site is right here, this house that's second to last to this little upper reach of Eel Pond. This is a man-made canal. This is Squibnocket. And this red line indicates the mouth of river. And what that tells us is that anything upstream of the red line is considered the river. And once you're considered a river, there's a 200-foot boundary from it from mean high water. That's the extent of the outer riverfront area. There's an inner riverfront area as well. We never even considered the riverfront area because it was a dock, and so mean high water is over here, and 200 feet from mean high water places the boundary right across the very frontage on the pond of our land. So there's no performance standards with riverfront for docks. So we never even considered it, but it is, Alyssa's right, it is in fact a river for purposes of, you know, conforming to riverfront standards. In addition, in the staff report, there was a mention of the possibility of there being a very small finger-like projection of salt marsh in the very south side of the property. We looked at an older plan and they had shown a small section of salt marsh right here. I didn't have an opportunity to go to the site today. If it's there, it's a very small little fringe finger-like projection. We're more than happy to add that to the plan, and then we can show the 100-foot no-touch zone from that salt marsh edge, but the dock doesn't cross it. Alyssa also noticed, I think there was 4 trees that I guess we missed, and she wanted them added to the plan for the record, which we're happy to do. And we went over those today as well. And finally, I guess there's a question as to whether or not this gravel area on the north side of the house was installed with permission. I have no history or knowledge of that. I looked at some aerial photos and there was a boat parked here in the off season in many of the photos. So Alyssa and I talked about either mitigating for that or removing it, and that we could work it out prior to final inspection for a compliance. And if that detail wasn't worked out, then of course we wouldn't get a certificate of compliance for the dock. So I need to delve into that a little bit more, but I'm hoping you can close this hearing and vote. And if I need to mitigate or remove the gravel and loam and seed this area, I would come back for an amendment to do that. I think that sums it up. I think that the dock reconstruction to replace a previously existing substandard dock that is licensed is an improvement, and it's better for the environment. And I'm happy to take questions.
Thanks, Mike. Jen?
I don't think I have any questions, only the gravel area, Mike. So you're saying that So we'll condition it to it either be removed or mitigated for?
Yeah,
Okay,
and I'll figure that out with the owner, but I'm hoping that we, that can be dealt with.
okay. I think we can do that. I have no other questions, Mr. Chairman.
All right, Ms. Bergeron.
No questions, thank you.
All right. Commissioner comments. Kevin, you're up.
No comments, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
All right, Maury.
Only two things, the floodlight that I think the electrical that you were looking at, Alyssa, it's gonna be low voltage lighting and it should be downward lighting, not that big one up on the pole on the water. And I think that was all. And I would rather see the usefulness for the gravel to park boats on and things. Versus taking that out, I'd rather see more buffer, or see a buffer put in. Cause I think it would do more than putting more lawn in. They were protecting the resource a little bit better, and that was all. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if I could, I failed to mention that final staff report comment about that electrical pole that Maury just mentioned. I don't really know what the purpose of that is, but it's either gonna be, I believe it serves no purpose, and I'm gonna reach out to the owner and it'll probably be removed.
All right. Steve.
I don't have any questions, Mr. Chairman.
All right.
Thank you.
Betsy.
No questions or comments. Thanks, Mike, Jamie.
Courtney.
Just echo Maury's comments. Otherwise, good project.
All right. Jen, is there anything in the public chat function, please?
Nothing in the public chat, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Then I'll make a motion to close this hearing and take it under advisement.
Bird second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to close the hearing. Any other questions or comments?
No.
Seeing none, we're going to vote to close the hearing. Betsy.
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney.
Bird eye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin.
O'Brien, aye.
Maury.
Hello, Hawk's Eye.
Steve.
And I.
It is unanimous. We have closed this hearing. Thank you, Mike.
All right, thank you, folks. Have a good evening, and I'll see you soon.
Night.
Thank you, Mike.
Sorry about that.
Wow.
What?
My husband's changing fire alarms for some reason and they all just started going off. So I apologize, Mr. Chairman.
Excellent. Can never be too
Likely.
safe.
Likely story.
Right, right. Yeah. It's cooking that chili. That's what's doing it. All right. Next up, Matthew and Finola Cox, 32 Sycamore Street, Falmouth, Mass. For permission to remove a deck, construct a porch and addition, and conduct invasive species management. Jen.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I have promoted Tom Bunker up to present his project. Hi, Tom.
Hello, happy Valentine's Day. I'll get
Thank
that
you.
out of the way.
Thank
I
you.
wore my red sweater just for it.
Same to you, Tom.
Teresa will be joining us.
Excellent.
Can you find her in the crowd?
Yep, I can find her. Got it right here.
All right, Mr. Bunker, you're up, sir.
All right, thank you. For the record, my name is Tom Bunker with BSS Design. We did the surveying and the existing conditions plan, and architect designed the porch that's going on here, and of course Teresa designed the restoration vegetation plan on here. So I will. Yep, there's Teresa. Here. So I will bring this up a little bit, if I may. Just start off with the GIS map. Wait.
Yes, sir.
Forgot again too, just like Mike, to share the screen. There we go. Okay. Something in the air. Or there's something on the internet. So right here. So now I've shared with you. highlighted property right here, 32 Sycamore Street. As you can see, is down toward the south end of the Mira Vista Peninsula. So it's a Sycamore is a paved road. Great Bay, is one of those that's eroding away somewhat, and it's actually blocked off right here. There's a flood zone, up along the bank. I'll put our plan up, our survey plan. Now we have that aerial map there, and then our site plan. Okay. So we have the existing house in this location on a corner lot with Sycamore Street on the south and Great Bay. And then of course, Great Pond over here, which is a tidal salt pond, land under the salt pond. And there is a bordering salt marsh along here and coastal bank. It's in flood zone AE elevation 14 because it touches down on the salt marsh at the base of it, has a 50-foot coastal bank, zone A, and this is a fairly pronounced bank running along through here. This is, as I said, close to traffic. There are boulders across it right here, so and up north, so traffic is not allowed through. And this, as was noted in the staff report, this is there was a time when lawns weren't allowed, lawn or in excess of some number weren't allowed, and this is one such one where it's all covered with a crushed stone mulch surface here. The existing house and a deck and a shed, which is just outside the 100 feet from the coastal bank, but it is in the flood zone. And the house has this little bit of a landing or stoop and some steps coming down. So I have it dimensioned. It's 18.5 feet to the property line and 41 feet to the top of the coastal bank, 59 feet to the edge of the salt marsh. And otherwise, so there's a stone here, these are some kind of wild overrun shrub vegetations here, and a little bit of lawn and whatever, paved driveway and some lawn across the back. I will get up to the next page. So this is showing the porch in the background, and on the prints that you have, you can see the outline of the stoop and the steps here. And so we have the existing is 41 and the proposed is 41 feet to the coastal bank, and the same 59 feet existing and proposed to the salt marsh. So it's not coming closer to the resource area. This deck is being removed, the deck right in here. This is partly for zoning and partly for conservation. Zoning as far as keeping the coverage below 25%, and of course for conservation to free up some space. So a couple of big stones are put in there, but the deck is coming out. There's a paved walkway all through here from the front to the back, and that is being removed. And so in place of all of that, we have this is all stone now. The stone is being removed, but there is a flagstone seating area put in here. It's a dry laid seating area put in, and some other stepping stones to get in the front door, and some stones to come down from the one stairs down from the porch here. And so there's a restoration area here, and then just a native plant area on this side, which Teresa can explain, and also the type of planting that's going to be all around here. So I can show you well, because it's all a stone surface, the crushed stone mulch is about 1,500 square feet. That's all being removed. So there's technically not mitigation required, but this 800 square feet of partly restoration and partly just native planting, sort of as a buffer or a screen from the traffic on the street, is being proposed here for some privacy around the flagstone. That's the outline of the project. I think I'll probably take this down and let Teresa fill in with her. Or you can give me questions first, or listen to what Teresa has to say before questioning me.
Thanks, Tom. Teresa, you're up.
Thanks, Jamie. Good evening, everyone. Teresa Sprague with Blue Flex Design. I'm also joined by Jenny Goldleaf from my office. So if you see her in the background, Jen, she worked with me on this.
Do you want her promoted up,
Sure,
Teresa?
that would be great. Thank you. Yes, this is her first experience here with the Falmouth Conservation, so it'd be helpful to have her up if that's possible. With permission, I'll share my screen and review the proposed plan.
Please.
Thank you.
Hello, Jenny.
That's staff report. Okay, so as Tom pointed out, the big components of our plan, we can walk through our existing conditions plan. Just very briefly, as Tom discussed, lot developed with a single family home, split rail fence encloses the property on all sides. The vegetation on the site consists of one large, healthy 24-inch caliber white oak on the southeast corner of the lot. In addition to that oak, Matthew and Finola Cox, the property owners, have been trying to get some smaller oaks established in the area. So if you went out to the site, you may have seen some small oak trees with some predator excluders around them out in the area, just on the other side of the split rail fence. The beds that were originally required as mitigation for the construction of the house were planted mainly with rugosa rose, which would have been typical of the requirement at that time. That area has become overtaken by Asiatic bittersweet and shrub honeysuckle. The property owners have been trying to keep that at bay and prune that back, but we're proposing to manage that as part of this plan. As Tom also pointed out previously, when the home was constructed, the area of gravel was required by the Conservation Commission. And so that has remained a gravel area since the home was constructed. Other vegetation on site includes invasive Japanese barberry. And then in addition to that, there's some boxwood, some Leyland cypress as foundation plantings on the east side of the house. The asphalt driveway and walkway that Tom pointed out, located on the west side of the house, and then the driveway to the south. So the overall plan, we're proposing to manage the invasive vegetation in the previous mitigation area, so the planting to the east on the eastern property line along Great Bay Road, restore that, manage out the invasive bittersweet, honeysuckle, and rugosa rose, which is non-invasive but not native, and restore that area entirely with native vegetation. In addition to that, we're proposing a strip of native vegetation planting along the south side of the property. We are proposing to remove all of the asphalt in the driveway and the walkway, reduce the size of the driveway. So we're reducing the size of the driveway by about 279 square feet, and then restate the driveway with permeable materials. That will either be permeable pavers or gravel shell mix. So that at least remains a pervious surface except after the asphalt is removed, sorry. The part of the gravel we're proposing to remove, the property owners are using that area currently as some outdoor seating area. So we're proposing a dry laid flagstone patio with large gaps in between that will be planted to allow the property owners to maintain their dining table and seating area outdoors. The rest of the gravel will be removed and return to a Cape Cod lawn, mainly consisting of fescue microclover, matching the existing Cape Cod lawn that's maintained throughout the other areas of the site. As Tom pointed out, the deck to the rear of the building will be removed. We're just proposing a stepper in front of the rinse station and down off the stairs that will be leading from the kitchen addition, and part of the area where the deck is existing steps down to a stepping stone. There is an existing 4-foot wide walkway that cuts through the center or access way to Great Bay Road or Great Bay Street that cuts through the center of this restoration area. We are proposing to just shift that slightly to the south. There's an unplanted area of lawn that is also existing that is proposed to be maintained to the north. Did read staff report, discussed this with Matt and Finola Cox this afternoon regarding the question about 2 walkway areas. They would like to maintain the 5-foot wide walkway that's existing on the north part of the lot. But if the commission feels that the 4-foot walkway should be planted, they are happy to do that, although they would like to keep it if they could. Finally, there's a small patio located underneath the oak tree. This was installed by Matthew. It's about 28 square feet. It's the only shaded area on the property. And so there was a little bit of a seating area, and he just installed some flagstones in here. He sits out here often to work and interact with people walking down Great Bay Street. They would like to keep that small seating area because it is shaded. And so we've proposed additional planting along the southern property line. Even though with that patio and the proposed flagstone area, there's a reduction in impervious surface within both A and B zones. Along the foundation, we're proposing just a small herb garden, not calling that out as mitigation, although we have included the plant species in there. In total, we're proposing 55 shrubs, including Viburnum trilobum, Rosa carolina, Diabella lonicera, Russa aromatica, Ilex glabra, America pennsylvanica, and Clethra, to be planted along in the restoration and planting areas along the southern property line. So happy to answer any questions regarding the proposed landscape planting plan. Thanks.
Thanks, Teresa. All right, Jen.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Teresa, if we're gonna keep that little flagstone, you say that little 28 square foot flagstone, the guys, your applicants sit under that big branch?
They do sit out underneath that, and so Matthew often works from home, and so he sits out there with his laptop underneath that at just a small bistro table.
Okay, if we're gonna keep that, then we gotta have to close one of those little paths up.
Yep, I explained that to them, and they are perfectly comfortable with that. They love that little seating area and happy to close that the path to the
Center
south.
path.
Yes.
Okay. I would go with the center path and close that. And that is all so that little seating area, that doesn't have a path to the.
There's just a little, it's kind of open. If I can share my screen again, I'll point
please.
it out. So it's currently just grass area that walks to that. There's no special footpath to that, and there's no access from that to Great Bay Street. So it's not a through pathway. It's just an open grass area.
All right, so we'll close up the middle one.
Perfect.
And then in the field, the stakes, Teresa, or I don't know if this is a Tom question. You can see it in the staff report. They're in the middle of the vegetation that exists. Is that where it actually is going to be staked, or is the vegetation you're proposed going to be in that whole planting bed area as it is today?
So the vegetation that we're proposing is in the exact location of the existing beds.
So what are those stakes, Tom?
That was just like a miscue between Teresa and me about that. It was mistaked by that foot or so.
Okay, and so your clients are aware of that the stakes are going to be pushed out to the end of the existing planting area.
They are.
Okay. All right, that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
All right, Ms. Bergeron.
I have no questions. Thank you.
All right. Commissioner comments, Maury.
I had no comments as long as Jen's happy with the path being closed if the patio stays. And no future. Do they have a permit to cut on the other side of Great Bay?
No,
Okay. So we'll put that, we always put that in, that it has to maintain its natural state. And
correct.
so the town property would be nice if they stopped cutting. Thank you. That's all.
Help protect that area over there.
Steve.
I have no additional questions. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Betsy.
Yeah, I have a couple of comments. So Teresa, you started out with your first paragraph describing what it was like. And you said something about a stable something and a stable coastal bank. Well, actually, it's not a stable coastal bank, and it's suffering the same. And I remember this is the first time I remember Maury mentioned it probably 10 years ago, and it was probably somewhere along Great Bay Street. She said, well, I'll bet a lot of the problem is water that's coming over the top. Right. And so you can see all along obviously Great Bay Street has a lot of problems and we've have some soft solution, but there are lots of places along Great Bay that would benefit from reducing the amount of water that crosses Great Bay Street or what's left of it and goes over into the pond. So I think, where's Jen? Yeah, so Jim Grady called me up. That's why I went to check out that area. Well, also I had to see this site. But I think we ought to look to put more vegetation in the town property that's right above that coastal bank to reduce some of that runoff, which gets me to my one more question to Tom. You're over there in your red shirt.
I'm here.
Yes. Is there a dry well on this property?
No, I was going to put it in because the engineering department said in their referral to ZBA. So I just got that today, so I'll put in dry wells.
So I'm not the only one. Well, obviously, DPW is concerned with what's happening on this street. And my last comment is, haven't times changed that we would require not allow any kind of a lawn, even a fescue lawn, which if you don't put nitrogen fertilizer on it, is going to be taking up some nitrogen and some water and have I was shocked when I saw that this has an order of conditions that says it has to remain a gravel lawn.
You weren't on the commission then?
No, I wasn't. But it's just the understanding of the implications of this just changes over the time. I've been here 25 years and I used to run along Great Bay Street and it was a wonderful street and you didn't have to worry about falling into the bay at that point. So it's really changed a lot in a relatively short time.
Yep.
And that's all I have comments, Jamie.
All right. Courtney.
Actually, other than echoing Betsy's comments, I have nothing. It is interesting how times have changed. And yes, it was nice to run along there once upon a time. And I kind of think, the idea of going to a fescue lawn there without fertilizers and stuff would probably be a good idea. Would help to take up moisture, reduce runoff, along with dry wells.
All right, you good?
Yep.
Kevin.
No comments, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Jenny Goldley, you have anything you'd like to add?
No, thank you.
Alrighty. Jen, is there anything in the public chat function, please?
Nothing in the public chat.
I'll make a motion to close the hearing and take it under advisement.
Bird second.
It's nice to see that Tom and Teresa and Jenny are going to improve the environment of this little corner of Great Bay Street and the applicants that you work for.
All right, we have a motion and a second to close the hearing. Any other questions or comments? All right, seeing none, we're gonna vote to close the hearing. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird eye.
Matthews, aye, Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Maury,
Hello, Hawk's Eye.
Steve.
Pat and I.
It is unanimous. We have closed this hearing. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
You
Thank
too.
you.
Good night.
All right, next up, Rami and Rania Assad, 50, Landfall, Falmouth, Mass, for permission to construct a one-car garage and install mitigation plantings. Jen,
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Tom Bunker is here to present his project.
excellent. Mr. Bunker, welcome back.
Yeah, if I can get back to the right screen here. Help me, help me.
It's good we didn't bid him good night.
I know. Oh, here I am. Okay, now I see you. Yeah, thank you for the record. I'm still Tom Bunker, BSS Design, and I will, if I may, I'll share the screen and dive right in, explaining
Yes,
where
sir.
he wants to put a garage.
Please do.
Please do. I will. Thank you. So where we left off here, we'll take a little trip. There it is, right there, down the shore to Treetops Landfall. There's number 50 right here. This is Oyster Pond. In this location, number 50 is the northwest end of building 6, I believe. But in this location here, there is that's the Oyster Pond and flood zone and all coming up there. And I will find the plan here. Site plan. There we go. Open. There it is. All right. So there's an oyster pond down in this location here. So it has rotated some. You see the north arrow is no longer up there. So this is the building 6 here, and at the end of it, we have a grass area where there's a large maple tree right in this location here, and some shrubs on the bank. This flood zone is along this heavy line right here. But if you've been there, you've noticed that it's a bit of a slope, and the slope, 4-to-1 slope, comes up from the flood zone here. It comes up, and it is only broken by this pathway that comes through. So the 4-to-1 ends here, but then at the end of this, the 4-to-1 comes up even higher and actually gets up pretty much right up to the road landfall in this location. Most of the other houses, I think all of the other units in the building have garages. There's one there, a pair of them there, they're garages. And here, these all have garages. And so he would like to, Mr. Assad has no garage. He does have a little parking area right here, paved parking area. But he'd like to put a garage on, which is basically the same size as the other garages in this location. I have the dimensions on here from the existing structure, which is 89 feet to the pond, 66 feet to the BVW, and down here just 25 feet to this is the corner of the deck here. It was built, I think it was built in the 70s sometime, early 70s. And the proposed garage attached in this location here, tell you why. I don't have a picture with me here, but here's a kitchen window right here. Between this 2.7 is the width of the window casing. And so this is designed to be just landward of that, so that this structure will not block or obstruct that one window. So that keeps it a little further away from the wetland than it possibly could have been otherwise, but it does push it toward the landfall a little bit. It's proposed at this location, it is 123 feet from the edge of the pond, 96 feet from the wetland, and 33 feet from this point on the coastal bank, which is up. There's a smaller red maple, 8-inch red maple here, and this one here, like a 28-inch maple. If you're there before the snow fell, you see there's lots of exposed roots and everything. And we had originally thought of putting mitigation here, but it wouldn't flourish in this location. I did meet with Alyssa on site and talked about it's still in the proposal to remove English ivy from this location, but because it's under a beech tree, and I think beech trees are notorious for not allowing much other vegetation to grow under them. So we thought it better, we kept the 10 feet from the deck and just planted in this area after the English ivy is gone. And then when we talked to Alyssa, we had more planting up here, but since that time, Mr. Assad asked me if I could look at this area, which is further from the unit, but it's in here, and there is weedy stuff growing in there. In the staff report, early in the staff report, in one picture, I think, which Alyssa must have taken from this location here, looking toward, there are green stakes. And I think you can see, and I don't know if there's some misunderstanding, but you can see in the picture that there is some shrubby material. It's not shown on the plan, but in their picture, there's some, and I believe the green stakes were done to go around all of it. Bushy material, which I think some of this I know is honeysuckle, and not in it. And so, you know, it was intentional. We can fine tune it if we have to, but it was intended to be not going in where that bushy material is, and just like this, which is really more herbaceous, maybe perennial or annual weedy materials in this area. It frankly is becoming overgrown. And we thought it would be a good location to really clean up and put in the native shrubs, 700 square feet of native shrubs in this area. The staff, Jen told me that you have a letter in there generally acknowledging or approving of the idea of building a garage here. Jen said they'd need a letter explicitly stating that they acknowledge the mitigation planting requirement that would go on, you know, communal property, and the need to keep it maintained properly. Mr. Assad, has been talking with the people. He, feels he can get that. If this is all, I can meet out there with Alyssa and see how we can massage this. It can go up into the lawn a little bit, I'm sure. If there are some areas down here, which it should be pulled back. I think we can work out the mitigation location, and we're actually hoping that you could condition this approval because the board here meets only once a month. And if we could condition approval on receipt of such a letter, rather than waiting for it to come in before the hearing is closed, that would be appreciated. And anyway, we're putting this up here. There are two trees being removed, the dogwood tree here and a dogwood tree here. I frankly think that Coosa dogwood's not native, but this is not, I'm showing you the wrong plan. The dogs are good, the trees are going to be removed and two trees planted down here. Hold on one second, I just realized that.
Tommy, you really need to stop moving that plant around. You're making.
I'm sorry.
You're the only
Sorry.
one that goes all over the place.
I was looking for my notes on there about that, and I just realized that let me go quick here. I know you've warned me before about told me, chastised me before.
You're just making me dizzy, that's all.
Okay, I'll slow it down.
Thank you.
There is there's one tree. We're removing two dogwood trees. I believe they're Coosa dogwoods, not the native, not the Cornus Florida. You're putting in a tree down here in its place. I just want to pan slowly. Yeah, because they're not native, and because they're so close to the house, we're not replacing the trees. But because it's over it's up at around 1,000 or just over 1,000 square feet of mitigation planting, we're putting in a red maple tree here. Anyway, so there's a little retaining wall to be removed, and the garage built here. The paving will be expanded. And this walkway, which goes down now to the parking area, will be shortened, and this will be the pavement, but this paving will be retained. So there is an expansion in coverage, and the mitigation calculations come out to 1,015 square feet of planting. So that's the proposal. I will take it down and I'll stop jittering it around so much.
Thank you, Tom.
Thanks, Tom. Jen.
Couple of questions, Tom.
Yeah.
So when you record this order of conditions, how are you recording it? Are you recording it against the condo, or are you recording against the property on the condo association? Because you have the condo, then you have where your mitigation plants are going. So that's why I need a separate letter from the condo association stating that the mitigation will be on the deed of the condo's property, and that they have to maintain it and protect it. And by maintaining it, we mean being allowed to grow into its full and mature form and not pruning it like part of landscaping.
There are no units in those areas. There's a small area by Mr. Assad's unit, and that will be maintained. The larger area is not blocking any view, so there'd be no reason why it would be cut lower. But yes, that's correct. It would
So
be
you'll get
have to
me.
be.
I mean, I don't know how the commission feels about that, but I'd rather have that letter prior to closing the hearing, but that's gonna be up to the commission. My other question, Tom, is when we asked for the architecturals, we asked so we could alleviate some concerns we had from some abutters that have approached us.
Hmm.
The interior of the garage. Is there gonna be a step up to get onto the first floor of the condo? They were afraid there was gonna be some compromise to the actual foundation wall. That they would like cut into or blast the foundation wall. Can you kind of talk me through how the thing, just so we can
Yeah.
alleviate some of the concerns from the neighbor?
Yes, I believe that Mr. Assad, he just texted me and he asked if he can join, so he can explain that if you can find.
I can find him. I see him right here. Mr. Assad, 1 second, please. I'm promoting you to a panelist, sir.
Hey, good evening, everyone.
Good
Can you hear
evening.
me? Yes. Okay, I did speak to the neighbor. I was made aware of some of the concerns that the neighbors had, and I did speak with the neighbor. You know, obviously, I haven't gone through the architectural design yet, but that's going to be the next phase that we will present to the condo board. This, as you can imagine, has been a complex process. I went through the condo board 3 or 4 meetings, then they meet monthly, just to get the initial letter of support and approval. But you know, the thought was we go through conservation and we get the general approval on the plantings, and then the architectural design of the condo itself and how it connects to the unit, if it connects to the unit, because it may just be a standalone building that is adjoining the unit, parallel to it, with just the garage door, allowing us to walk through the walkway back into the house. Ideally, we'd like an opening, but that's not going to be done until we go through the board, the building department in Falmouth, and get the approvals.
Okay, so you're saying that, see, my concern with the condo board is, have they seen the mitigation plan yet? Do they know? They have.
They have seen. I've actually emailed as soon as I got the plan from Mr. Bunker with the from BSS Design. I emailed it to the board chairman, as well as to the architect on the board, Mark Klopfer. So they have seen it, and then, you know, obviously I'm going to also be meeting with them again to get the letter that you requested. I will be paying, you know, we will be obviously covering all of the costs for the mitigation, as well as the cost of the building as a unit owner. But then, you know, we'll get the letter supporting it from the board. I'm not sure if I'm answering the question or if
You are. Nope, that's fine. Thank you.
Good, Jen?
I'm all set, Mr. Chairman.
All right, Ms. Bergeron.
Thank you. Just one follow-up for Tom in regards to the vegetation area. It wasn't a misunderstanding, Tom. It just looked more naturally vegetated than I thought it would be when I went out there. You know, I think it's one thing to remove some ivy from the ground, just, you know, a very matte kind of ground cover, and replace it with vegetative matter. But in the other area, I mean, there are grasses, like you said, perennials, annuals. There is some vegetative material there. So it just kind of seems a little bit more like a replacement. But maybe the board has a different opinion.
Yeah, it seems like usually, you know, and I only saw it, you know, obviously late fall, early winter, so I don't know what's gonna come up, but it's typically, it seems like it's more, I mean, you want shrubs and those, and it has seemed, I felt that you could that one could vegetate an area with shrubs when it wasn't shrubby already. But
Okay. That's all I have. Thank you.
All right. Commissioner comments, Steve.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My concerns are not related to conservation. They're more related to citing maybe mitigation within commonly owned properties. I just not comfortable with it because I don't understand it, but I don't think it's a conservation issue other than it has to go somewhere. Thank you. That's it.
I can't speak for the condo board or anybody, but it's so steep and they're mowing a lawn, you know, on such a steep area and some of it that it just makes more sense to have it shrub and not lawn area.
And then not mow it.
Make more sense to not mow it. Yeah.
Thank you.
So I have one other question. Tom, when did you submit a plan to the condo board? Because we have a condo board letter from August of last year. Your plan is dated January of this year. Did they see the plan with the mitigation on it, is what I would like to know.
But yeah, Rami said that.
I can go ahead. Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, initially I started the conversations with the condo board about the general idea of actually getting a garage instead of my deeded spot. So that was in May of 2023, and then we got the letter of support, which is in the packet here. The plan was submitted by Tom over the past few weeks, and I emailed it to the chairman of the board. So I will be having other conversations and then getting you the letter of support showing that they approve the mitigation plantings.
Okay. That's going to be a condition on us approving the building permit, sir. If we don't get that letter, and if I'm not comfortable with that letter, we will not approve that building permit.
Understood.
And that means the project will not go forward.
Understood.
Okay.
Betsy. Betsy, oh, there you are.
I have no questions. Thanks.
Okay. Courtney.
So am I understand that the garage is going to be attached to the condo building? Is that okay?
Yes.
So, and you're gonna develop architecturals that satisfy the condo board within the footprint that you're getting approved. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yes.
Okay. And when do you expect that to occur?
I mean, once I have approval from conservation, then, I'll engage with an architect and get the designs and then get those in front of the condo board and get the building permit.
Okay.
So I'm assuming over the next few months, but I don't anticipate actually building until the fall at the earliest. Because, the condo is quite seasonal and there are seasonal folks that actually come in. So we don't want to disturb anyone with construction.
Yeah, we just, you've submitted plans that show where the building is going to be, and we just want to make sure before the work starts out there that what we're approving conforms with what, the condo board does. So it gets complicated. I'm not, so we just have to build that into our order of conditions. I have no other questions.
All right, I'm going to elaborate on that point. So what he's telling you, Mr. Assad, is that if the design changes for whatever reason, board approval, you change your mind, whatever, that would have to be an amendment on our from us, that if you're going to change that footprint. Because earlier in the conversation, you used the word, I just lost the word, that would be a separate building. I think what you were trying to communicate was that you would either have access from inside the garage or you'd have to walk outside. But if it's a standalone building, that's a whole nother animal. So that's not what you're applying for here now. So
Yeah.
whether you have access from the inside of the garage to the inside of the house, that's up to you and your architect. But it, just to say it, that foundation will be poured up against the existing foundation. So to address the neighbor's concern, I mean, there's no reason to have that cut into the existing foundation. So just to make that point, having access into the building that's kind of minor in the whole scheme of things.
No, exactly. Thank you. I mean, I think, the foundation will be adjoining the other foundation, connected basically. And then whether we do the opening and access from the inside, that's a different issue that will be addressed with the architect and the condo board.
Yeah, that has nothing to do with us, but just to address your neighbor's concern, and with things that have happened lately in the news, cutting into existing foundations gets kind of hairy. So that's something that what I'm looking at wouldn't be necessary.
It would not be necessary.
All right, Kevin.
No questions at this time, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Okay. Maury.
I just had a couple. Tom, mechanically removing the ivy, what are you mechanically removing it with?
Well, I'd have to, I think probably on something like that, you'd have to, we will have you talk. I'm not sure myself. I talk with the person who might be doing it is the person who does all the maintenance and landscaping at Treetops. But I don't know. I haven't had a chance to talk to him to see exactly how he would do it. It might just be, I don't know. It might just mean raking out, not necessarily a mechanical, powered machine.
I'm a little concerned because, as you know, beech trees really don't like disturbance at all.
Yeah.
And they're shallow rooted. So, I can't imagine a mini excavator or a bobcat or skid steer in there. I would like to condition that all the area outside of your mitigation area would be done by hand. Not on the back side of the house, but within, 15 or 20 feet of that beech tree. Because right now that well is only a couple feet around it, which is nothing. I mean, so I'm very concerned about that. It's a beautiful beach, and to protect it, and also spraying herbicides on shallow rooted, trees will kill them. So I'm going to put in there that herbicides are not going to be used in that area. I would like to condition that. And the last thing is the area that Alyssa was talking about. It is vegetated, and usually we don't allow mitigation in a previously or already vegetated area. So I think you're gonna again, it's hard in the winter time, but it looked like there was a hydrangea in there, and I mean it was not a whole lot of valuable stuff in there, but it's still vegetated. So that would be restoration, and then you still need mitigation. So I think we need to just look at that. But in the garage, I wish you'd put the dimensions on the garage. It makes it a little easier to know how much you need to mitigate. It's whatever the size is. It's like 22 by 15, and but that should be on how big it is, so it's easier for us to figure out. And the last thing is I'm with Steve as far as not knowing how this works with the condo association. That really needs to be cleaned up before I can move forward with any of the project, except for the ivy removal. Okay, thank you.
Jen, is there anything in the public chat function, please?
Nothing in the public chat, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. All right, what are you thinking?
I got a question. Can we really close this where there are so many variables?
And don't close it. I'm
No.
really concerned about the condo board and the fact, and the amount of mitigation that's proposed and whether or not they're actually gonna accept that. So I would really like something from the condo board.
But I don't see how we can, excuse me, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, go ahead.
I don't know how we can go to the condo board until we resolve the issue that Maury brought up. Um, restoration versus mitigation and where he's going to propose it. I don't think they're going to say, oh yeah, anybody, anywhere on that hill's fine with us.
Yeah.
I don't know how he can move forward without our guidance, at least.
Tom, your thoughts?
Well, we're gonna have to have a revised plan from Tom anyway. We're gonna have to have a revised plan.
I'll have to look at that, I guess. I mean, unfortunately, with whatever snow on there, I can't really tell the better what's growing there. If I could, I don't know if it's going to warm up. So I don't know if I have time like early next week, if it's going to be warm and a little bit of, I guess that's kind of south facing. So maybe the snow is melting off it in the sun. If I have to fine tune the mitigation, I'll see if I can, maybe Alyssa, if we can look at, I just don't know if it's worth going out there later this week.
Right.
Probably not.
I think we'll have to wait a few weeks.
They say there's a warming trend coming up.
Well, there you go.
But let me ask you about things. Maury mentioned some hydrangeas. I mean, are things you just thinking about whatever you can see that has some not necessarily woody, but or herbaceous stuff for determining if an area can be used as mitigation versus restoration. I've been before where, like, if there's a perennial garden, let's say, we could put mitigation, take out a perennial garden, put mitigation into it. And I just don't know where that line is. Between the two, exactly, when you get into maybe a
Well, we can
situation.
talk about that, Tom, when you revise your plan. As far as Steve's concerned, Steve, if you're comfortable closing this with the, I mean, after we get the revised plan from Tom, if you're comfortable closing this with a condition that the building permit is not to be issued until we get something from the condo board, I'm fine with that too.
Yeah, that's about where I am.
Yeah, okay. So it's gonna be up to Tom and the revision of the plan with the mitigation areas. And Tom will probably have to wait a week or so to see how warming trend is coming. Let me see.
That warming trend. Yeah.
I'm just looking at the forecast.
Gonna be
The weather is not your friend until next week. We're
Yeah,
supposed to get-
Well, I know not until next week. They heard on the weather a warming trend, like President's Day might be warmer.
But it's supposed to get snow later on this week and over the
Right.
weekend.
But yeah, I could talk with Mr. Assad about that, but where to put it, but I can move it. Just move it higher up onto the lawn, just to get it out of the area you're concerned with. And put some back when we first talked with Alyssa up closer to the road by that big red maple tree. I can put, I know you were hesitant about anything else going on the 28th. That's my last, well,
oh wait, you're going away, aren't you, Tom?
I'm going away. I can put something together for the 28th if that's,
Jesus, we're bombed.
Gonna be a Jamie call. Chairman. Right now, we have 3 new notices. Are we getting another one in, Alyssa, do you know? Or did we?
The re-advertised one.
3 advertised?
The re-advertised, so that would make 4 new. Plus we just continued to. Were there
Okay.
already any continuances?
No.
Okay.
The 2 we just continued, 1 we haven't opened, so that would be another one. The re-advertised one, that's not gonna take that much time.
Give them a break, Jamie. It's Valentine's Day.
Why am I the bad guy?
You're the one who has to make the decision. I'm just trying to appeal to your better self.
And some of us actually participate in Valentine's Day.
If we could just get out of
So
here.
Good point, Steve.
All right, Tom, I'm gonna say you get the 28th, but that's it. Cause you're not here on the 6th, are you, Tom?
No, no.
No, okay.
That gave you enough time, Tom?
Yeah, so I'll have to get something in by the 21st, and we'll hope it's a nice warm day on President's Day. And I'll talk with Jen or Alyssa before then, just to make sure the parameters.
Right.
At the
Yeah.
request,
Yeah.
oops.
Oops.
Can I make a motion?
Go ahead.
At the request of the applicant, I make a motion to continue this to the 28th of February.
Bird
Pat,
second.
second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to continue this till February 28th. Any other questions or comments? All right, we're voting on the continuance. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird eye.
Matthews, aye, Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Maury,
Carlo Hawks eye.
Steve.
Pat and I.
It is
Mr. Chairman,
unanimous.
one comment. Tom, I really think the guy that you're working with on the ivy removal would have a good handle on, he's the guy that cuts all that
Yeah.
stuff, right? And I'm sure he has a board relationship. Anyway, not my business, but
Yeah, and
I
I
think he'd be a good
understand
contact.
Maury's concerns
And
about.
he would probably actually have a picture of it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I apologize.
All right. All right, it's unanimous. We have continued this until February 28th. Thank you, Mr. Assad. Thank you, Mr. Bunker.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night, gentlemen.
All right, good night.
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 All right, the next 2 have been previously continued. This brings us to a request to extend an existing order of conditions. Eugene Clerkin, 67 Cliffwood Lane, Falmouth, Mass. DEP number 25-4616, requesting a 3-year extension. Jen?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the construction part is complete, so I'm not quite sure why they need 3 years. So I would recommend a year to get the mitigation plantings in.
So moved, Carlo Hawks.
Pat, second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to grant a 1-year extension to this. Questions or comments? All right, we're voting for a 1-year extension. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird eye.
Matthews, aye, Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Maury,
Carlo Hawks eye.
Steve.
Pat and I.
It is unanimous. We have granted a 1-year extension. Next up, Lady Fair LLC, 44 Jewelers Avenue, East Falmouth, Mass. DEP number 25-4635, requesting a 1-year extension. Jen?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we recommend a 1-year extension.
So
Bird
moved,
second.
Gladfelter.
I'll second.
All right, we have a bunch of motions, a bunch of seconds to issue a 1-year extension. Any questions or comments?
No.
We're voting to grant a 1-year extension. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird eye.
Matthews, aye, Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Maury,
Carlo Hawks eye.
Steve.
Pat and I.
It is unanimous. We have issued a 1-year extension. Next up, hearings under an enforcement order. Falmouth Yacht Club, Inc., 0 Clinton Avenue, map and parcel ID 46B-020-020-000H, Falmouth, Mass. Unpermitted placement of filter fabric and trap rock over the existing riprap. Jen,
Yes, Mr. Chairman, it's actually a little bit more work than that.
I
But-
read what you wrote.
Yep, I know you did. But at this time, I'm working with Cape and Islands Engineering to come to some resolution and a fix for this situation. So I've spoken with Matt, they've done their survey, they'd like additional time, so I told them that we would continue this out to March 20th so that I could work with Cape and Islands, we could work with Cape and Islands Engineering and the yacht club to try to fix the situation out there. What had happened is there was a lot of sand material, filtered fabric, and trap rock brought down after a large storm event, which kind of took out their dune. They did lose a lot of material over there.
Yeah.
So they have hired Cape and Islands Engineering. They are working towards fixing this. They did stop when we asked them to. So I suggest continuance until March 20th.
So moved, Harlow.
Gladfelter, second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to continue this enforcement order until March 20th. Questions or comments? All right, we're voting on the continuance to March 20th. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird eye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Maury,
Harlow Hawks eye.
Steve?
And I.
It is unanimous. We have continued this until March 20th. All right, that brings us to vote orders of conditions. Thomas and Elizabeth Sheehy, the Quinella Group, LLC, 22 Millfield Street, Woods Hole, Mass. Jen,
Yes, Mr. Chairman, this is the dock in Eel Pond in Woods Hole.
I'm sorry, can I interrupt you? Courtney is not on this quorum,
Right. So
Okay.
so you're dismissed.
I was
if
not
you
at the
feel-
then
last.
I will see you all later next week or whenever the
All
next one is. Thank you.
Night, Courtney.
Thanks,
Aye,
Court.
Court.
I did.
Sorry, I didn't mean to
They
interrupt
had-
you.
Yep, they had, they could not meet the, at least in staff's opinion, the shellfish threshold. I was not at the last hearing, so. Would somebody like to summarize?
Ms. Bergeron,
Sure thing. So we had Matt Costa and Brian Wall representing the project. They provided us that aerial image was explained just to show how heavily used the waterway has been used over time. They were going to add, I believe, the electric and water lines, and there is a discrepancy on whether the storage would be on-site or off-site, so they might want to change that on the plan if approved. There was discussion about the historical record of shell fishing. Would this ever be open to shell fishing? What are the impacts of constructing this dock? We do have Harbor Master comments regarding the orientation of the dock, and he found that it was comparable to what else is there. We did not receive revised comments from the Shellfish Constable or DMF after the change in plan. And Brian Wall did contribute some guidance from the state, which we were a little confused by since we had not previously looked into it. And there was discussion about the root of the word shellfishing in the regulation. That's all I have.
Mhm. All right, Betsy,
So I'd also say there's some confusion about the word historic. And although I pointed out that Chuck has a good memory of a lot of things that have happened, Chuck is relative to me is a young guy. And even somebody like Maury, who's younger than I am, but she has a lot of historical background. That doesn't tell us what's happened here historically. If we say historic, if we use that word, I mean, to me, historic goes all the way back to when the Native Americans first came to this area. But if you use it to mean written history, written English history, then you go back to the 1600s, and I'm pretty sure people collected shellfish there in the 1600s. And so the point is, the evidence they gave that there was no historic use was a little lacking. And the second thing is that there was a discussion as to what the relative value of shellfish were, and it's not just for human food. Shellfish play a really important role in the environment, and when shellfish larvae are released, they serve as food for fish and other things, other filter feeders in the water, and they also get swept out of eel pond and can set in other areas. And then obviously the ones that set in eel pond are available to be eaten by the things that eat shellfish, birds and fish and etc. So it is an important shellfish habitat. And they even conceded that the fact that there are so many shellfish there indicated that even though by human terms it might not be good shellfish habitat, shellfish like it. It suggests that it is good shellfish habitat. And then the other thing that I would add that we don't usually add, but there are several points brought up by neighbors about the problem with navigation with the rock that's just off there, the problem, what was the other one? Oh, as far as aesthetics, the dock will look different from all the other docks in the area. Well, there's a rock plus the dock sticks out a lot further than any of the other docks in that area. I think that's all that I have.
All right. Anybody else? All right. Maury?
The other thing, they said that it would never be open for shell fishing. And I don't think that was correct. I mean, we don't know what the future is. I wish I did, but we don't. And again, the habitat there, the amount of shellfish was really high, and it was very viable. So I agree with all of what Betsy said, and their argument didn't stand up enough for me. Thank you.
And Maury also, whoops.
Go ahead.
Can I add? So Maury also added, which is true. I mean, Maury has shellfish for years here, and often good shellfishing areas are in mooring fields.
Mhm.
So so they came up with something that you can't shellfish in mooring fields. Well, if you can't shellfish in mooring fields, you couldn't shellfish in most of our ponds. You wait until the boats migrate away. Right.
All right. Anything else? All right. What are we thinking?
So I'll put a positive motion on the table.
Okay.
I'll second it. Patton.
Okay, so the motion and the second on the table is to issue an order of conditions as discussed.
As issue an order of conditions as described by the applicants.
No.
Sure. I can work with that. All right, so again, this is a positive motion. All right, you ready?
Yep.
We're voting to issue an order of conditions. Betsy,
No,
Matthews, no. Kevin,
No,
Maury,
No,
Steve?
No.
All right, it is unanimous with this quorum. We have, what's the verbiage I want? We're
Not
denied
issued in order of conditions. The motion failed.
What she said.
Yep, the motion failed. In order of conditions will not be issued for this project.
All right,
Not too bad, 9:30.
not too bad at all.
no, with an executive session in there, I think we did good.
And Tom moving his plan around.
As we
My
stayed
comment, but I'll wait
focused.
for the recording then.
pardon me?
I don't have anything to say that I want recorded.
Oh.
Yeah,
I'm kind of
All
getting
right.
used to Tom's.
No,
Gravel.
please. You used to yell at me because I put the computer on a chair.
Don't do that.
One more motion, guys.
All right, motion to adjourn. Harlow Hawks.
Patton second.
Gladfelter, aye.
Matthews, aye.
O'Brien, aye.
Harlow Hawks, aye.
And Patton, aye.
It is
Happy
unanimous.
Thanksgiving, one and all.
Yeah.
Happy Valentine's Day,
All
Steve.
right.